Hey, thanks for watching these videos. I feel like I don't say that enough, so thanks for enjoying these. I really appreciate it, everybody, so thanks. And with that said, hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another one of our weekly Jujutsu Kaisen discussion videos. Today we're talking all about episode 16, Group Battle Part 2. But before we get into the video proper, quick reminder if you haven't done so yet to hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, set notifications to all, let all of AniTube know that you're here. And without further ado, what do you say we go ahead and dig into this week's episode? So, this week is probably one of the more action-packed episodes that we've seen in a series that is nothing but action. But I do think that this week had one of the better fights, I'd say. And that might seem weird, considering some of the fights that we've already gotten. But to me, what makes a fight really good isn't just how well it's animated. It's not just how cool the choreography is. It's not just how good it looks. Because if there isn't a reason for the fight, if there isn't a story being told, then it's not a fight. It's an action scene. And while action scenes are great, they don't have as much emotional impact. And they don't hit as hard, right? A lot of the reasons why I say that Kaisen has great fights is because a lot of the fights have a story being told with the two characters in question, right? A good fight scene, not just in anime, but in everything, is not just an action scene, but it's also a dialogue between two characters where there's no words exchanged. Well, not a lot, outside of, the occasional, shouting out your attack name or something like that. It's a story being told through action, sort of like an interpretive dance, but with more punching. And I think this week's fight scene, because there's two, but this week's main one, Panda versus Mechamaru, is one of the better fights of the entire show. And I say that knowing how many cool fights we've had, but for me this one hit harder because you can see the story, right? You have Panda, who is fighting to basically for his own existence, right? Fighting to prove why he is worth existing, whereas someone like Mechamaru sees Panda, this cursed object, essentially, as an abhorration, right? Like, it's disgusting to him that while he is forced to be cooped up in this freaky-looking Matrix bathtub, operating Mechamaru at a distance, Panda gets to walk around as this inhuman object, and it bothers him. And so we have suddenly an impasse and a reason for the fight, beyond just, they're trying to kill Itadori. Our squad wants to stop them from killing Itadori. That's a good enough reason, but the added context of Panda is this cursed object thing, and which I did not know. That was a surprise. But the idea that Panda is this cursed object and that bothers Mechamaru, and Panda is bothered that Mechamaru would be bothered by his existence, so he is fighting to prove that he is just as worthy of existing as Mechamaru is, but also not that Mechamaru doesn't deserve it, but that he too deserves it. Just basically Panda fighting to prove why they both deserve to lead a good life, whereas Mechamaru is more sort of trapped in his own existential dread and is taking it out on Panda. And that sort of conflict sparks the fight, which itself is dope, but the biggest thing for me is the fact that the fight has impact because you get why they're fighting, you get both sides of this story, and you really, really feel it. Like, you understand why the fight is happening the way that it is. And much like a lot of good shonen, during the fight, we dive into both characters' backstories. We do the Naruto thing where, we get some flashbacks within flashbacks and find out some stuff about the characters that maybe we didn't know before, unless you're a manga fan, in which case you know the rules around here. Asterix laughs in manga. But I think Panda just skyrocketed up the list of, my favorite characters, as well as Mechamaru. I thought both of them were supremely good this week. I loved getting to know Panda a little bit better and seeing how he was brought up. I don't care what universe it's in. If your father figure is the dragon of Dojima, you're probably going to be pretty badass. So, yeah, the fact that Kiryu Seiyu, whose name is escaping me and I feel so bad, because it really shouldn't, because the man's a legend, but the fact that the principal is the one who sort of created Panda, which makes so much sense, and I feel stupid for never really connecting the dots on that. Maybe it was even said already, but I really just did not connect that that's where Panda comes from. I always thought he was just a talking panda bear. So I was like, well, I mean, Panda considers himself a panda, so whatever. But, yeah, like, that was a surprise to me. I was like, yo, Panda's dad is Kiryu? That's awesome. And I'm sorry, I'm sure the principal has a name. He's always going to be the Dragon of Dojima to me. Like, he's just always going to be Kiryu Kazuma. So, his dad is Kiryu Kazuma. That's great. And it's sort of, it's funny watching him do, like, the punches with the principal, like, sort of, and mimicking it in the present day, he even does an ora ora barrage, like, ora ra 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 ra. I was like, hell yeah, Panda, let's go! It was so sick. And I liked seeing how Panda sort of has this, like, evolution to him, right? Like, we see him shift into gorilla mode since Kiryu, Principal Kiryu, explains that he has 2 other cores in him, and those are his siblings, his big brother and his big sister. And Panda says that, like, his sister's a bit shy, but she also got hit when Mechamaru blasted them from afar. So she's not going to be able to help him right now. So he's going to have to tap into his big brother, which is the Gorilla Core. And so Panda's more of, like, the balanced core, whereas Gorilla is, like, all action, right? Like, he's there to, like, whoop ass. He's there to kick ass and chew bubblegum. And he's all out of gum. And so that's Gorilla Mode. And Gorilla Mode was so sick looking. It was, like, so cool to see. And I loved that Mechamaru knew, like, oh, I'm screwed. Like, in that moment, it's like, oh, I'm done. But I also like Mechamaru's side of this fight as well. Because while Panda is out here, like, Panda's part of the fight is to struggle to prove why he is worthy of existing in Mechamaru's eyes. Whereas Mechamaru is fighting his own feeling of inadequacy as he goes toe-to-toe with this creature who he feels doesn't even deserve, has a life that he wishes he could have and does not deserve it. You know, like, we see him, like, he's missing an arm. His skin is so fragile that the moonlight can burn him. He's, like, covered in bandages. I don't watch, or I never really saw Rurouni Kenshin, but he looks like the one dude from Rurouni Kenshin, the one samurai who's, like, covered in bandages. Like, that's who he kind of reminded me of, just in terms of his physicality. When you see the real, like, Mechamaru. And I kind of felt for him, like, especially the line of, like, what do you want to do? Like, whatever you want to do, I'll help you do it. Like, after Panda whoops his ass and basically breaks Mechamaru. And Mechamaru just says, like, I want to see my friends, right? I want to actually see them. And you see him get out of the tub, and you see him, the way he sees himself in his mind's eye, like, fully healed and out with his friends and everything. And that, for some reason, really got me. As a dude whose friends are mostly online these days, especially even my IRL friends who I've known for years also being online these days, the idea of I just want to see my friends, God, that hits. That really hits in 2021 when we're still in the midst of this thing that we're dealing with. I will say the Backstreet Boys reunion tour and hope that you know what I'm talking about. But damn, that hits right about now. That probably still hits even after the world is back to somewhat normal. It's still gonna hit because you can't always see your friends. And the idea that he can't see his friends because of his condition, it just makes you really empathize and really feel for Mechamaru. And you do want to see him and Panda develop a friendship or a bond of some kind, because Panda did say, like, whatever you need help with, I will help you. And Mechamaru's like, yeah, whatever, right? Like, he sort of brushes him off. He's like, yeah, sure. But you really feel it. Like, I really felt for him this week. I really genuinely felt bad for Mechamaru, and I want to see him healed. Like, I actually want to see him fixed. That said, Mechamaru is cool looking. Like, the not like not the dude, although, like, in fairness, like, when he's healed, he looks dope too, and he does kind of look cool in the band. Like, the thing is cool looking. It's just kind of scary. It's a little scary, but like that whole room is a little scary looking. But he himself, I'm sure he's a lovely dude. But the design of the robot, Like, the design of Mechamaru itself is friggin' cool. So, I don't necessarily, want to lose Mechamaru, because I think the design is cool, and it's a cool robot thing. But, I want to see this boy be happy, and I think Panda's going to try his best to get it to that, to get him to that place. And, yeah, I just thought the whole thing with Panda versus Mechamaru was fantastic. Easily one of my favorite fights. And again, that's happening in the middle of another fight that is also dope. You guys do remember I'm a zombie, right? I could literally eat your brain, right now. Except I won't, because you've definitely already hit subscribe, which means I'll leave you alone. Unless you haven't, in which case, guess who's having a brain Sunday today? As all of that's happening, the friggin' Itadori versus Todo fight is still going on. We see it at the beginning of the episode, and I just love this dynamic. I've talked about it last week. Some of you guys were talking about it in the comments, and I completely agree that, you know how there's, OTPs, right? Where it's, one true pairing, and, this couple that you really want to see, make it to the end, right? Even if you know it's not canon, it's just your favorite couple in the show. But there's also bro TPs, where it's just two dudes who are so close, and you think, or they could be very close. You feel like two dudes who would be really good friends, who would be each other's ride or die best friend there, the whole way, with you to the end of the line type stuff. And to me, that's Todo and Itadori. I just think these two are they need to be friends, right? They are probably the straightest characters in the show. But they're also, even going beyond that, just their personalities mesh and blend so well, and they have such good, chemistry as friends, that you just kind of want to see them run around and fight and hang out with each other, and, you actually want to see the school stuff in his mind's eye. You want to see all of the stuff that Todo thinks is going to happen actually happen. You want to see him, Todo bring Itadori to meet the one idol girl and stuff like that. You want to see all of it, because you just sort of buy the friendship, and I already do. He's still calling him best friend, and it really gives me, Team 4-star Goku Vegeta vibes. Isn't that right, best buddy? And Vegeta's oh my god. And, that's the same thing where Itadori's stop calling me that. He doesn't say it out loud, but you can tell he's thinking it. And Todo just keeps calling him best friend. And I think the coolest part is the idea that Todo is not only viewing Itadori as a friend, but also he's coaching him. And he's showing Itadori, when he explains that, when you talk about cursed energy, right? When you're talking about that sort of malice inside, you usually say it's coming from the chest, right? I can feel my blood boiling in my gut, or I feel a fire in my in my belly, you can when people say oh, I feel this energy and it's building up inside, they usually say it's coming from the chest, right? So that it's gonna come out of the chest, go through the arms, and then finally into the fist. And that's what's giving the Divergent Fists the effect that it has. Now, I like Divergent Fist, I think it's cool. But I do understand where Todo's coming from, where he's you could be hitting all at once and way harder. Divergent Fist is cool, but you could be hitting so much harder. And so he's explaining this to Itadori, and we see Itadori suddenly burst with the cursed energy in a way that we haven't really seen before. Usually it's all manifested in the hand, but here it's sort of coursing through Itadori, and I'm oh shit. And then you see them throw down again, and then we cut away. It's damn, because I would have loved to have seen what happens next. The whole thing was just this whole episode was just so dope. I'm not even getting into the hints at Miwa versus Maki or Momo versus Kugisaki. The whole thing was great. Again, I think Panda versus Mechamaru definitely stole the show for me, and it takes up a majority of the runtime, so it rightfully should. But man, yeah, I definitely don't want to understate Itadori and Todo's fight. Still going and still hitting and just making me want to see, I want to see Jujutsu Scroll as a spin-off, but longer than it is, right? I want to see 10-minute episodes, a 13-episode series of 10-minute episodes of just these characters hanging out and having fun. Because I love the action, do not get me wrong. But I also just think these characters have such good dynamics. Wouldn't you want to see a spin-off where Itadori and Todo getting in trouble and they gotta go to like meet the idol, but like shenanigans happen along the way, or Panda trying to give Mechamaru advice about like this is how you can talk to your classmates and like have them get along with you, or even like Maki and Kugisaki just hanging out and going shopping, because that's probably my favorite ship in the show. Because that's the thing, everybody in the comments when I said like, what's your favorite ship? Everyone's like, bruh, Kugisaki and Maki, duh. And I was like, oh shit, yeah, that's a really good ship actually. So yeah, like, don't you want to see that too? Like, I just want to see Maki and Kugisaki like going shopping and shit. Like, I just want to see all of these characters just hanging out as much as I want to see them kick the shit out of each other at the same time. This show is a trip. But with that said, everybody, that is going to wrap up today's video here, so I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to boop that up snoot, share if you care, leave a comment down below, and of course, make sure that you hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, set notifications to all, and let all of AniTube know that you're here. And before we go, as always, I want to give a big thank you to the good folks in the T Squadron. Look at these beautiful people. Look at all these beautiful names, and hey, if you would like to join these beautiful people, there are 2 ways to do so. The first is by hitting that join button right beside the sub button. That gets you a badge next to your name, some emotes to spam in the comments, and of course your name scrolling past the screen here. Or you could check out that Patreon link in the description. Either way, it is super appreciated. So, once again, a big thank you to the good folks in the T Squadron, and that is pretty much it for me. So, until next time, you stay classy, AniTube, and you wash your dang hands.